Future-proof. Memory. Lessons from neural networks. What if your memory isn't broken, just outdated? Every day you forget names, faces, entire chapters of your life, and you blame yourself. But what if forgetting is part of the design? What if machines, the very ones we're building to remember everything, are facing the same struggle? Today, I want to take you inside a story that bridges neuroscience, AI, and something deeply personal: the quest to build a memory that lasts, not perfectly, but powerfully. In 2012, I watched a neural network recognize a cat for the first time. It was grainy, pixelated, almost laughable, but something about it haunted me. This machine wasn't told what a cat looked like. It learned. I couldn't stop thinking about that. If a machine could teach itself to remember, to identify, to evolve, what did that mean for my own mind? I didn't know it then, but that question would send me down a rabbit hole that changed everything. I've always been fascinated by memory, how we store our past, how we lose it, how sometimes it distorts into something we no longer recognize. As I dove deeper into the mechanics of neural networks, I began to see eerie parallels between artificial memory and my own. The deeper I looked, the more I wondered, could we design a future-proof memory? One that doesn't fade, fracture, or falter? The answer I discovered wasn't just about machines. It was about what it means to remember it all. At first, I was obsessed with optimization. The human brain forgets more than it remembers. Some studies say we lose 90% of what we experience. Neural networks, by contrast, can be trained to preserve data indefinitely if designed correctly. But it's not that simple. AI systems suffer from something called catastrophic forgetting. When new information arrives, old knowledge can vanish, overwritten like chalk on a blackboard. Strangely, I realized that this flaw felt familiar. I'd experienced the same thing after moving cities, changing careers, ending relationships. The new me came at the cost of the old me. Was forgetting inevitable? I tried to fight it. I journaled obsessively. I backed up hard drives. I recorded voice memos late into the night, terrified that some essential part of me might slip away. But the harder I clung to memory, the more brittle it seemed. And yet, neural networks offered a clue. Researchers discovered a technique called elastic weight consolidation. Basically, it slows forgetting by anchoring important knowledge. When the AI learns something new, it doesn't erase the past, it integrates it. I started to wonder, could I do the same? Could I anchor the parts of myself that mattered most? That's when I stumbled across something called a generative replay. It's a method where a neural network simulates its past experiences to rehearse them. It doesn't store raw data. Instead, it recreates its own memories, like dreams. This blew my mind. Machines, in their own limited way, were dreaming, reconstructing the past not through fidelity, but through essence. I looked at my own dreams differently after that. Were they my brain's version of a generative replay? Was forgetting not a flaw, but a form of creative compression? And then, the twist hit me. We are already future-proofing our memories, just not in the way we think. We don't remember exact data. We remember stories. The human brain is, in a sense, a narrative engine. It takes scattered, incomplete inputs and stitches them into coherence. That's why eyewitnesses contradict each other, why siblings remember the same childhood so differently. We're not hard drives, we're storytellers. And that's exactly what neural networks are beginning to mimic. They aren't storing literal facts. They're building internal models. Systems like GPT don't recall the web verbatim. They generate plausible responses based on deep, learned structure. It's not recall, it's reconstruction. That realization changed how I treated my own memories. I stopped fearing their decay and started designing my own narrative architecture. What if, like a neural net, I could rehearse the most important parts of myself until they became foundational? What if I could define core weights, values, truths, stories that every new experience must build upon, not erase? This wasn't about clinging to the past. It was about training a more resilient self. And then, another layer, emotions. AI doesn't feel, but we do. And that emotion acts like a learning rate. It tells our brain what matters, what to reinforce. I realized I remembered events not because they were important, but because they were emotional. The heartbreak, the awe, the fear. Emotional intensity is our brain's version of backpropagation. It updates the whole system. So I started paying attention. I began tagging my memories not by date or place, but by how deeply they moved me. I asked, what did this change in me? Soon, my memories weren't isolated fragments. They became a living network, a system trained not to archive but to adapt. And I started noticing something else. The more I trained myself to remember what mattered, the more present I became. There's a paradox here. Neural networks work best when they're constantly learning. Not static, not locked into the past. The same is true for us. Memory isn't just a repository. It's a feedback loop. It informs every decision, prediction, and perception. So the goal isn't perfect recall. The goal is useful recall. Memory that serves the future, not just the past. This shift wasn't theoretical for me. I started using memory rehearsal like a neural network would. At night, I'd spend 5 minutes replaying key moments of the day, not as they happened, but as they felt. I imagined them with color, weight, intention. I adjusted the narrative until it fit into my internal architecture. Over time, it changed me. I wasn't just remembering more, I was remembering better. It made me wonder, what if education worked this way? What if we taught kids not to memorize facts, but to generate models? What if therapy wasn't about reliving trauma, but reshaping emotional networks for long-term coherence? What if our devices didn't just back up data, but helped us dream our memories forward? Helping us compress meaning instead of hoarding information? Maybe the future of memory isn't digital immortality. Maybe it's learning to forget strategically, to synthesize instead of store. After all, that's what evolution taught us. And now that's what AI is teaching us. Looking back, I no longer envy machines for their memory. I see their struggle, catastrophic forgetting, brittle learning, lack of emotional signal. But I also see their potential. And in their design, I see a mirror, a way forward. A challenge to rethink my own cognitive architecture, not as something fragile, but as something trainable. Because the truth is, every day, we are building the future of our minds. The stories we tell, the emotions we invest, the moments we choose to rehearse. These are our training data. We are our own neural networks, whether we realize it or not. And just like them, the goal isn't to remember everything. It's to remember what matters, in a way that carries us into the future. If this journey into memory and machines sparked something in you, there's a lot more ahead. I dive deep into the crossroads of technology, psychology, and the future of the human mind. And I'd love to have you with me. So if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, tap the bell, and stay curious. The next story might just change how you see yourself.